I think it all kinds of gets lumped into each other. And then as they look at their flow of work, that's where they start to partition out to see which technologies are being used, what parts are still actually being driven by people. And this is where it ends up being a bit difficult. Because if you don't have a way of capturing, or I should say, rendering that in a way which is understandable, then that could end up being very painful for somebody to go through and try and inspect and capture some raw data about it.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello and welcome to Analysts Gone Wild. It's Friday afternoon where I'm at, but morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever those might be listening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert Kramer with Kramer ERP, here to discuss some enterprise stories. We have a bunch of them today, and we got Ken and Sam on the line here to discuss some great things. So Ken, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and how's life and good weather where you're at.
Well, actually, it's I'm based in Portland, Oregon, for those that do not know. And it's a little bit on the cool and wet side today. So I'm got the jacket on and just kind of getting ready to kind of ease on into the weekend, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually in Virginia Beach, and we've had a lot of rain lately. So I'm not sure if it's going around from us to you, or it's already gone to you, and now it's coming another wave we're going to get hit, whatever. But anyway, it's 80 and sunny here by the beach. So we're kind of excited about that. Yeah, it's kind of nice. So Sam, what's going on in Canada? I mean, is it snowing there?
Yeah, we don't want any snow today. We don't want any rain. We don't want any cold. So thank you so much, and blessed to have hot weather for next 3 months, I guess. I might be a little blurry today, but hopefully you can see some of the grays. Sometimes you don't see, and you are thinking that I use really good dye. But I have a lot of gray.
Like if you guys get hot, you just jump in Niagara Falls, right?
Sorry, hot? What is that?
If it gets hot, you're so close to Niagara Falls, you just jump in there, right?
I could try that. I mean, that could be a great possibility, especially doing so many different ERP implementation. That could be fun, I guess.
Yeah, good stress reliever. Tells you how to get through Niagara Falls in a kayak, right?
That could be a possibility. That could be hopefully that is going to be AI enabled as well.
Wow.
So it occurs to me, Sam, that I've never heard fun and ERP implementations at the same time. But, perhaps it was just because they weren't using Gupta ERP.
It's all mindset, Ken, how you look at it. Some people don't see it as fun. Some people see it as fun. It's all mindset, Ken.
Well, it's necessary evil that you have to have to run your business. And I think if you attack it the right way, you'll come out ahead. I think the ones that don't do it right, Sam and Ken, they're paying for it for the long time. You got to put the blood and sweat in up front. And if it's done right, then you really will see the dividends. It's a unbelievably complex but gratifying solution if it's done at the right way. But Sam's got more experience with that implementation than I do. But I do think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for some of those people.
There is always light at the other end of the tunnel, but as long as you can follow that, it's meant to be a journey. Not everybody is meant to get there in one life. Some people do get there. That's why we have 70% failure rate, to be completely honest. But it's meant to be a journey. You don't get it right in one implementation, hopefully by 3, 4, 5, 6. Generally, most people, they do like 5 implementation in their entire life.
Wow. What's the #1 reason for failure?
And I think we have half an hour episode on your show, so we can have a probably plug for that. I mean, it's always going to be, mindset, change management, people's understanding or ability to really transform the business process in a state that is going to be technically and financially feasible. And that's where the major problems are. 90% of the companies that are doing this for the first time, they have not even figured out how to code their part numbers or how to create their bombs. And they want ERP or AI to simplify that process. Again, ERP and AI, they can help you, but they are not meant to teach you discipline, I guess, if I could use that word.
Yeah,
that has to be with you.
No, that was as good as the answer as you can get. So let's talk a little bit about human security gives marketing and commerce teams. So who is Human Security? It's a cybersecurity firm focused on bot mitigation and digital trust, historically serving the security and fraud prevention teams. It positions itself as a global leader from, they call it agentic trust. It's a discipline of governing how human bots and AI agents interact online. So this announcement's expanded its agentic visibility capabilities within its Sightline cyber fraud defense platform. It's extending beyond the security and fraud teams to now support marketing, commerce, digital experience for organizations. Does this matter, guys? Most analytic platforms were designed for a human-centric internet and not really structured for something of this nature of how AI search agents, agentic commerce flows. According to some of the reports, automation is growing at 8 times faster than human traffic. So I think this is a big deal. And that's based upon the state of AI. The pros are the company turns a security capability into a cross-functional revenue tool. I think that's what's really important here. It also has integrations with other companies. The problems is that it's new and it's different, and marketing teams might not know how to use it yet. So there's some education, there's change management, and let's talk a little bit at the end of this. What's the roadmap and how does this affect customers? Ken, what do you think?
Well, so first off, I really like that there's somebody that's now saying that they're out doing some leadership activity around this. I think that when we start looking at the use of AI across different types of organizations and different verticals, the thing that we're seeing is that the surfaces in which people interact and the surfaces through which AI tools interact are radically different. We can't expect that, even though our AI tools can drive browsers and things like this, the native foundation for them is through APIs to be able to connect and drive these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that being able to now provide some specialization around being able to offer tools, techniques, methods to be able to address, well, gee, where do agents live, and does anybody do anything on this? I think that's actually a really good thing. Now, to necessarily imply that somebody's a global leader in this, I think we're all early days. So even if you're one step ahead of your customer, you're still ahead. But I don't know that qualifies as a global leadership.
Yeah. What do you think about the marketing teams? I mean, are they something that they'll like, or something they have to learn, or both?
I actually think that from marketing teams, I think will find it useful, because when you look at the different tool sets and the way that the tool sets expose the capabilities that they need to go test, I think that that's really important. And we should be expecting that as we go through the rest of 26 and into 27, that we're going to see a lot more evolution of how the tools are doing what they're doing, new types of APIs, new surfaces through which we expect people and the technology to interact. So this is not something that's just kind of low, put it out once and then you're handled. This is going to be a constantly shifting sand, and we need to get used to that as a way of operating.
Yep. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, so this is very interesting. So, I mean, obviously this is related to marketing, as you guys have correctly pointed out, if you look at the governance and security of agentic workflows, it's not going to be just marketing. There are many other workflows in the enterprises. So here, the focus is still going to be on marketing as well as commerce teams. But here, if you notice the trend, they are using the term Adobe Experience Platform, which is probably AEP. And I don't know if these guys are really reseller, of Adobe. That could be a possibility, or it could be simply IP. It might be slightly overstated, I guess, in the article. I don't know about that. But when they say that this is going to be a global leader, yeah, it's hard to believe. I don't know how known they are. I don't know if you have come across them. But this does seem to be more of the Adobe IP in my mind. But I would put this into the cybersecurity space as well. But that could be a little stress too, because you are talking about cyber fraud. But I don't know if this is a real security play here. So there are too many layers. This could be just the marketing governance control, which is probably going to be needed for any of the agents from the marketing department perspective. So that would be my take, Robert.
What do you think this means for the customers? I mean, and the kind of the roadmap for this company, or the customers following that roadmap, if there is one to help them. I mean, is this something that helps customers with their activity and to classify agents by type and trust level, to distinguish, between? I think there's a problem that's going on now, but distinguishing between human and agentic traffic, will it help that for the customers? Would the customers be able to use this right away, or is it something, or what are they doing right now, Ken, if they're not using this?
Well, I think it all kinds of gets lumped into each other. And then as they look at their flow of work, that's where they start to partition out to see which technologies are being used, what parts are still actually being driven by people. And this is where it ends up being a bit difficult, because if you don't have a way of capturing, or I should say, rendering that in a way which is understandable, then that could end up being very painful for somebody to go through and try and inspect and capture some raw data about. I think that some of the approaches that we'll start to see are more folks being able to show what mix of tools are being used. And I think that actually would be a really great part of an offer, to be able to expose where you're actually seeing the agents interacting at the command line, or at the API level, and people inserted into the process, like almost like you would with building out a value chain, and being able to show where so that you can identify points of friction or places where something takes too long and you're not trying to optimize the wrong thing.
Yeah. Sam, do we have any questions? We can go on to the next one if you want.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. We don't have any questions.
Okay. So Iterable unveils a Nova agent. So who are they? That's a AI-powered customer engagement platform. So they serve basically marketing teams and brands. So they say they work with Priceline, Box, others. It competes against other automation spaces like Braze, and we've talked about them in the past, and also Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So this announcement is about their Nova agent, which was clear on the screen here. It's an AI agent built for to act on customer behavior, which is actually a really good topic, and alongside its wave of AI capabilities they have to help marketers optimize their campaigns. I think this is pretty interesting because marketing usually plans these campaigns pretty far in advance, and there's usually a gap of time that they have to spend to do all that. So the agent is context aware. It's automatically builds these campaigns, brings messaging in. I'm a little nervous about things like this if there's, depending upon the human interaction, but I think it's a helpful tool. Like, I want to make sure that's clear. It's a tool. This is not something that runs your business. So marketing teams still have to operate the workflows. They have to give commands. They have to obviously come up with the campaign itself. But what do you guys think of this?
So in this particular case, I guess, number one, we have seen a lot of similar stories. So I don't even know what's the difference between those stories. Obviously, customer engagement platform is great. But where do they play, I guess, is going to be my question. Also, we have seen different definitions of real time, and I don't know how real time they are. So that could be a problem as well in this particular story. From the customer's perspective, and Robert, you are always talking from that perspective, right? So let's say if I'm the customer and if I'm looking at all of these different capabilities, how do I decide, the one that I need? Obviously, it's not going to be clear from the story. It's very hard.
You have to use it. You're not going to know. You have to referrals. You have to have somebody review it to tell you all the differences. I don't think you can buy that quick, and it's hard to understand. But continue. I agree with you.
But to be able to use, you have to sign a very, very long-term contract. Now, how many can you really sign is going to be a question. I don't know. I mean, it's very hard for the customers, as you know, and as you have correctly pointed out. I think vendors need to be clear here in terms of their positioning and explain where they sort of fit in the value chain.
Right. Ken, what are you thinking?
Well, so first off, I will share Sam's perspective. Anytime somebody uses real time in a release, it really just kind of chaps me because what somebody considers to be real time and then getting more literal about the definition of what real time is, there could be a significant gap between those two polarities, and so that automatically raises the hair on the back of my neck. But the thing that really stands out for me that I wanted to call out as a bit of a caution is the use of the term AI capabilities. Capabilities, it's an interesting way to describe something. But it can exist at a number of different altitudes. So the extent to which, well, this is a new AI capability. Well, is it? I don't know. So I think that as customers consider the different offers from their vendors and service providers, they need to think about what level of granularity are we talking about so that they can really evaluate what that capability is on its own merits and whether or not it actually holds promise of being able to deliver the kind of benefit that the customer is really looking for. So it might be an innovative capability, but it might not be useful in that customer's context.
Well, what might be interesting to say, or better to say, is talk about the outcomes. Talk about how these help the customers, and then some capabilities that match those outcomes. But the customers really don't give a hoot about the features and capabilities if the outcomes don't benefit them. So, if you talk about the outcomes, you talk about how this could help you and this, that, and the other, but the capabilities are just lumped together, and that's marketing to me. And I think that they have to get away and talking to customers, what the customers need to hear, how this is going to benefit them. This is what you're doing now. Here's how this will help you. This is the playbook to actually get it set up. And by the way, here's some features and capabilities that you might want to use. But I think it's all backwards, the way that a lot of these vendors are talking to their customers. And I think it hurts. It will hurt in the long run. It might help them in the short term because it sounds good, but it's not. When you peel the layer back, it gets challenging because you guys are like, what's real time? What's this feature? What's this capability do? Well, the customers that's what the CIO, the CTO, or anybody who's involved in these decisions is asking when you get to that point.
Could not agree more. Do you want to go to the next one, Robert? Or
So the next one, Precisely. They bring this company brings. We're talking a little bit more about AI, but governed AI, and I think this is a really interesting point because governance is. I think we came into governance after too little later than we should have. It should have been out of the gate because it's a pretty big point. But Precisely is a global data integrity company serving regulated industries, and specifically like financial and utilities and telecommunications, insurance, healthcare, etc. It's EngageOne product line handles customer communication management, and that's a space where compliance is a big deal. Accountability, auditability. So, and these are not things that you can get around; they have to happen. So, the announcement is the latest version of their EngageOne RapidCX, which is introducing, again, here's the term you guys love, real-time view of outbound communications, and a new next best action AI agent. I'm not sure how they market it or why they said it that way, but it helps teams identify issues, understand performance, and faster action, et cetera, and confidence. Now, these terms, I think, are all, as an ex-marketer, I just think they're talking so much in terms of marketing instead of what the customers need to hear. So you don't, next best, I think these terms are real time. The customer doesn't know what the hell that means. So this release includes that next best action agent for email communications. It's a redesign of their metrics driven homepage with 5 core widgets, and they say they're real time again. So let's talk about why this matters, and does this help, and what do you guys think?
Yeah, so this is going to be in the CX space as well. I think they are talking about data integrity. I don't know. Are they more of the MDM? Then they are talking about unified real-time view of outbound communications. Is it some sort of plugin on top of RingCentral? On top of Zoom? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me, but then they are also talking about actions for customer communication to content optimization and search. What does that mean? I mean, is it some sort of AI agent that is doing some sort of optimization and search? What is this? I mean, I really don't know. I mean, data integrity would be more of the technical platform. But is it more master data governance and what in CX space? Are they MDM for CX space? I'm not entirely sure, to be completely honest, if I understand this. And again, there are a lot of parallels in this story and in the previous story as well. So I don't know how to read this. That would be my take on the story.
Well, I think they're getting expansion of the governance tooling, and for their compliance. But what do you think, Ken?
I'm with Sam. Because when I read this, I'm kind of like, what are we talking about? Yep. It is not clear.
Okay. Well, we can move on. Anything from the audience? Nope.
We don't have. There's a lot in the CX space, obviously, but we have never seen anything tangible. Obviously, they are very good at marketing. So this could fall under a lot of marketing that you talk about, Robert. Is it really marketing or real features?
Yeah, there's an interesting discussions today around all these, as we have SAP and Google up on the screen here. There's a lot going on with the middle layer of all the SaaS applications and where they're going to play and where they're going to sit. I mean, I look at data and the data platforms and the ERP platforms as just a gigantic part of the equation. So some of these other players, whether they're CX or other, they are trying to find where they're going to land. I believe things are really changing over the next couple of years because of ERP and because of the data platforms and because of governance and things, and obviously AI is in front of all of that. But so as we talk about that subject and we go into SAP and Google, SAP, as we know, is just a pretty sizable ERP vendor. And I was actually at their Sapphire conference a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty energetic. I was at Google Next as well a few weeks before that, and as we know, they're just one of the largest public cloud providers. Actually, they're the third largest. So this is not their first partnership. The two have had partnerships in the past. So this is about multi-agent AI partnership. And the announcement is about the integration to enable their customers, both their customers, to deploy agents that can access unified data stored on both ecosystems. I do think, one of the things that SAP has different than like a Microsoft or an Oracle is their data platform they do have one inherent in the system, but they have partnerships with other data platforms. And I think it's not as significant of a data platform combination as like a Microsoft Fabric. But that's just my opinion. So I think they're trying to get partnerships that will help compete a little bit with that situation. But when you bring that together, the unified data that's stored in both ecosystems, you can execute and do different things. You have Gemini that will act as a central hub for the data integration and multi-agent coordination.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think of this? I know this is a positive because of the fact that you have SAP Business Cloud, you have Google with BigQuery, so you have a lot of different things to maximize the value of using both platforms. Thoughts?
So, in my mind, when I look at this story, I see this as more of the Gemini and the SAP Engagement Cloud collaboration. Obviously, CX is part of that as well, right? Which is great. But I mean, we have seen similar stories. Everybody's trying to align themselves with one of the LLMs. Here, this is going to be more of the agentic development. Yes, they have a little bit of data play. To your point, Robert, SAP is not necessarily a data warehouse company. That's why they are aligning with many different data warehouse providers, right? Because they want to provide as many options as possible for the customers. Microsoft technically is probably not an ERP company. I mean, they would probably claim that they are ERP company as well, but they are primarily in the data warehouse business, and that's why I don't think they are going to align as much with Snowflake or Databricks, because that is their bread and butter. That's what they want to sell, right? So that's where the difference is in a strategy, and everybody is aligning based on those strategic plays. Here, and I don't know how that fits, I guess, overall in terms of the agentic development, there could be some play from the data perspective, because agents are going to feed some data, and obviously you are going to have a little bit of agentic coordination. But I see this as more of the integration play between Gemini and SAP Engagement Cloud.
And Ken, just 1 second, but do you both think that as we go down roads like this, and we've talked about this in the past, that what do the customers want, and work your way backwards? So what do the customers need? They need a platform that's easy. They need a platform that they can get to what is necessary to run their business in real time. I'm joking. But anyway, if you look at that, you want a platform and you want an ecosystem. And I feel as we get to that event-driven ERP in the next couple of years, or however long it takes, that platform will be more apparently required. And so will the ecosystem. So does this play into that mold? I would think yes, but what do you get? So Ken, what do you think of everything and then what I just said?
So I think that customers are going to be faced with choices about, well, gee, I think that nobody would argue that taking an agentic approach to thinking about how we need to get different ERP packages, different product suites, different sources of data to be kind of like living within the same, I guess you might call it execution space, so that things are visible. You can query across, you can start to make sense of things which haven't previously been made sense of, because, disparate sources of data, how do you actually connect them? This is where I'm actually pretty bullish about this, and especially around Google and Gemini. I think that a lot of the work that is currently being done in the space, probably being, majorly attributed to OpenAI and Anthropic. Why? Because those are the harnesses and the engines that most people will recognize as being at play. Mm-hmm. I think that anybody that would write off Google, it would be doing so at their peril.
Yeah.
Because the Gemini tool set is growing and expanding, and what they're able to do with it. I mean, they're kind of like the deep pockets, deep infrastructure. And it's just like, hey, you guys go and battle for the social media hearts and minds. We're going to sit in the background and we're just going to build really good stuff that gets work done for people. And on that basis alone, I would say, watch this. because this is going to be a pointer to where the market is going to go, because they will make it practical. They want to have customers using their product suite and producing real results. So I would be keeping my eye closely on this one.
Let me ask you a question, Sam. Google's not known for truly being in the ERP space at all. Are we going to see more trends like this with them, or they're already doing stuff with SAP previously, but I haven't seen them a lot in the ERP space with a lot of the vendors. But what's your thought with that?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting comment. And we don't have our friend Thomas here because I like to see Google as more of the consumer company, but he disagrees with me, which is a fair disagreement because he feels that, Google does have substantial enterprise play, which in my mind, I have never seen in their commercial model. Sure, the cloud, division may have a little bit of commercial, but for the most part, the way the company runs is it's a very consumer-centric company, right?
Yeah.
And if you are a consumer-centric company, you cannot be an ERP player. To sell an ERP, you need very strong B2B presence as well as, forces that are going to be completely aligned from the product strategy, sales, marketing, etc. In this particular case, why Google is relevant and SAP S/4HANA, as you know, I don't know how many companies are deploying it as public cloud right now, but 90% of them are probably going to be on-prem. Sometimes private cloud infrastructure becomes far more important for companies. Those companies are much bigger in size, magnitude. That's why Google is very relevant. So these companies are going to deploy on one of the infrastructure. In my mind, Google is a very, very marketing-centric organization. And when I say marketing-centric, meaning marketing-focused, their penetration, even if you look at G Suite penetration, that has been among marketing agencies, software firms. A manufacturer is very rarely going to use Google Suite. It's very, very rare. So overall, if you look at the market penetration of Google, they have always targeted the marketing-centric organization because Google Suite is far more successful there. So, and that's why this particular story is very marketing focused as well. CX is a marketing product. It's not supposed to be the ERP product, even though they are talking about business data cloud. But this is going to be business data only from the marketing and sales perspective, not necessarily the entire enterprise data.
Yeah. What's also interesting is I believe they have a supply chain solution, and so does AWS. And obviously the other ones do too, but those two specifically are not in. They're large cloud players without ERP exposures necessarily. I would think that their supply chain would be more exposed from a market perspective. I don't see it kind of gets lost in the shuffle with their other solutions that might be, like you said, customer centric. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting comment as well. Ken, you can touch on that as well if you have any sort of insights there. But I'll touch first. So here, when you look at SAP, even inside SAP, and obviously you spend a lot more time now, inside SAP, Robert. If you understand their departments, how they are organized, how they work internally, you are going to have a supply chain department, and supply chain department does not necessarily talk to the CX department. They might talk, but SAP is the humongous company. They all have their own priorities, how they commercialize, how they sell. The sales team is probably going to be very different as well. From the data warehouse solution perspective, and that's where you are talking about SAP Business Data Cloud, obviously it's going to include all of those suites, and that's what SAP is arguing that, if you go to Salesforce, you are probably not going to get supply chain data. But if you go to Salesforce, they are going to say, hey, the only thing matters is Salesforce Cloud and data, and all the data that you need you should bring to your Salesforce Data Cloud. So obviously, there is a little bit of tension there between two vendors, right? But that's the real game. In this particular case, if you look at the supply chain data, that's going to be a slightly different division inside SAP. But this is a marketing story, I would say.
Yeah, supply chain can jump in just a second, but supply chain is a much bigger issue than I think it's being made out to because steel is expensive, petroleum is expensive, manufacturing is become very expensive. So where you need to make that up is in the supply chain, and a lot of supply chain components within an organization, I would say, are not 100% automated. So with that, there's a lot of ground that you could make up to get some of those dollars back that you're potentially losing with the manufacturing issues that I just mentioned. Plus, you also have resource issues with the manufacturing as well. But Ken, why don't you touch on all that if you have a second?
Well, this is really one of the reasons why I started talking about a little bit earlier, the whole notion of being able to, and I hate to even say model, but like build a view of the flow of work, who's engaged, both from a human perspective as well as from an agent or technology perspective. So we can begin to identify where the gaps are and where the data lives, and now start being able to have a more holistic conversation about what needs to get done.
Yeah.
Especially if we're saying that there's inefficiency, there are risks, there are things that we need to address from an organizational perspective, and line those up with the both. I guess you might say what the key results and activities are that the organization's engaged in, like what things they need to see. Because if we don't have a way to start rendering that and be driving decisions off of it, then we're really just taking a bet that whatever we're doing next is going to give us the thing that we're missing. And I don't think that kind of a random approach is really sustainable in the long term. I'd like to see some tooling come out that actually addresses that.
Yeah. Sam, how do you address that? Because that is an interesting subject.
Yeah, it's a very interesting subject, and I'm not entirely sure if I have any answers there, I guess. I don't know how to address anything these days. I mean, the technology is all over the place. The buzzwords are everywhere. If you're looking for answers, I'm probably not the right person.
It just shows how, so if you have some confusion in you, it just shows how innovation is moving at a speed.
Yeah.
The customer adoption and absorption is moving at such a lesser speed, and the gap is growing, and we're not fixing it. We're just adding to it. And I think, to your point, Ken, it's there has to be a way to help the customers here. But okay.
Do you want to go to the next story, guys?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Treasure data becomes another Treasure AI. So they're rebranding and they're delivering, they say, 10x value. We've said this in the past. We don't like when you put numbers like that. I'm not sure if that works even in marketing. I mean, I think customers really want to know transparency. They actually always want to know why nothing's all golden. They want to see what they have, how many fields do they have to run through to get to the gold, instead of telling us, how great it is, because we know that that's not the case. But Treasure Data is one of the original enterprise customer data platforms. They've been around for about 15 years, and they're owned by ARM Holdings, and it serves as a large global brand for retail, media, travel, consumer goods. And they rebranded to Treasure AI on, I guess, like last month, right? So from Treasure Data to Treasure AI, interesting name, with the domain change from treasuredata.com to treasure.ai. So I'm sure that treasureai.com wasn't available or something, so they had to switch it to that, but whatever. We should have all bought these, we should have bought like Pepsi or Coke.com. Like we were around, we didn't do it.
You can buy Pepsi.ai right now if you want to be rich, because most likely they may not have bought that, and there is a very strong chance that they might want that.
Don't tell everybody, though.
These are domain strategies to make money, Robert. You have a lot more money there than in the ERP world.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Should I go buy a bunch of them for $10 each? But probably not a bad idea. But so Treasure AI is designed, it's newly released, but it's designed as a system where AI agents access the customer data to make and execute decisions. This is nothing new to the world, but it's part of their strategy. I guess this is a little marketing, but features of releasing how that you can use their data platform to help. I don't like the 10 times value in 10 minutes. The headline, I think that's kind of like ridiculous. I think you just tell us how you're going to help me and go from there. What do you think, Ken?
Well, I'm with you. Anytime I see 10x in 10 minutes, I immediately start to tune out. Yeah, sorry, I just can't.
Yeah, for this story, I guess, we wanted to have John Reed, and you should look at his face. when he does his, what is that, buzzword meter? Yeah, no, seriously, I mean, you need that. And when I look at this story, the only thing I can think about is I'm hungry right now. Why am I looking at this story? Why do we have this? There is not much, I guess. That would be my take.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one?
Yeah. So we got Xactly and ServiceNow. They launch agent to agent dispute management AI agent. So Xactly is a performance management and revenue intelligence platform. So obviously we know who ServiceNow is. They're a workflow and service management platform. So they both been separately building AI capabilities, and this is a production output of their collaboration. So they announced a dispute management AI agent, as I mentioned, and it's to assist or enable coordination between the two platforms. So basically, ServiceNow's conversational AI to be used to automate compensation inquiries and dispute workflows end to end. So I think this is a positive. I'm not sure it's a huge story or not. It's an agent that's collaborating, and they're using MCP to probably for this workflow. It's the first release, so it could have some complications. And I'd like to look at the roadmap and what the next generation of these does look like, and what the benefits to the customers, and hear from the customer use cases if this is a benefit to them or not. Ken, what do you think?
Well, so first off, I think that this is actually encouraging because, historically speaking, companies that engage with ServiceNow, you end up having to carry the ServiceNow flag in order to be a meaningful contributor and participant in the ecosystem. So I think that by looking at how they are actually part of the overall ecosystem, and now they found a place in it to be able to express what their unique value is and how they can bring something to the table, especially given that ServiceNow has been talking about their agentic enhancements with the last knowledge, and really kind of upping their game in terms of being able to make things more open and available for people to use AI technology. I think that's actually a really good thing. And the second thing I think is that they've got a very good, it's very focused. They're not trying to be all things to all people, but rather they're bringing something out which dispute resolution and management. You know what? That's an issue. And it's good that somebody's paying attention to it and that there's room in the ecosystem for them to address that and find that there's a path to revenue for them. So I'm actually encouraged by this. I think this is pretty cool.
Is it a press release required for something like this, or is this just something I put on my website?
Well, I think in the big scheme of things, every organization needs visibility. So I think that being able to talk about it, because this is going to land with the community that actually says, "Oh yeah, this gets at my need. I have this issue." So to the extent it gives people something to talk about and something they can search on and say, I had dispute management.
Yeah.
Boom. No, I actually, this is a very good thing for them to do.
Okay. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, in this particular case, I guess I'm going to have to agree with Ken. And, I was maintaining my consistency of being grumpy today, but I think on this one, I'm super bullish. This is one of the best use cases that I've seen for AI and agentic application, especially the kind of disputes that you are going to have in this particular space is solid. And obviously, ServiceNow has figured out, what is their core space is. And if you can see similar use cases, and obviously, they are not trying to go after the existing use cases. For example, the ERP-centric use cases, these are different problems. These problems were there. They were very manual. And now AI is going to do much better job for that. So that's where I see a real benefit, I would say, especially if you look at just the commission investigations. And I'm pretty sure, Ken has probably invested a lot of time in this particular space. That's why he is agreeing with the story. If you look at just the sellers and administration, the whole process is very complex. The claims administration process, And obviously, I mean, Robert, your perspective would be that, why don't you handle that inside ERP? ERPs are great, but I mean, they are not meant for everything. And this does get very complex, and ERP workflows are very challenging, for these claims workflows.
They're doing it. I was going to say exactly right, but that's it's kind of conflicting with the name of the company. But I agree with what you're saying. ServiceNow has really carved out a niche, and some of the players like this to work with them, I think, is fantastic. And dispute management is an area that probably needs some efficiencies, and this is a way to handle it. So.
Yeah, and their play is going to be primarily in the telco space. Telecommunication has always been one of the best areas for them. Data center is another one. And those are very complex sales cycle in that you are going to have multiple layers of players, sellers and commission and administration. And you are also going to have dispute management. So, and that's where I guess ServiceNow is doing a wonderful job in finding the right candidates for these agentic capabilities.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Appian.
Okay.
Appian and Snowflake. So Appian AI in process. So Appian's, a process automation platform, business process automation platform. I've actually worked with them in the past, and I'll actually be at Snowflake next week. So that's nothing to do with this, but they have a partnership, and its customer base that Appian has. It's interesting because they focus pretty heavily on government, and they have a lot of business processes that deal with that: financial services, healthcare, insurance. It's really their core competency. So Appian announced its enhancements that include an AI-assisted spec-driven development, MCP integration for agents, which they unveiled at their Appian 2026 World event. But they also launched a technology partnership with Snowflake that helps all this, but uniting the AI orchestration layer with Snowflake's AI data cloud. So these key capabilities are an AI-assisted spec-driven development, use with AI to help with legacy applications to create more of a plan, showing UI, data models, process flows, stuff like that. What do you guys think about this? I think it's probably pretty significant for Appian to work with Snowflake. I think they probably both need each other. But you guys tell me. I think it's partnership is also probably good timing because of Snowflake's next week. They have some new things they're releasing. There's some challenges I think that Appian personally has. But what do you guys think?
Yeah. So in this case, I guess my perspective was very similar, Robert, to you. My understanding of their focus was more in the government space. No code, low code, was their focus. But they have positioned in this particular article, and I don't know if they really want to be known as industry-leading data fabric. I don't know if they compete in that market because here they are talking about unites Appian as the AI orchestration layer with Snowflake's AI data cloud. If you look at Fabric, I mean, my understanding would be that Snowflake is probably playing that role. So what is Appian's role? Is Appian more of the orchestration layer? That could be a possibility. But then you also have a lot of parallels with the previous story. Here they are also talking about evolving our claims process. So my understanding is that ServiceNow and these guys are probably playing in very similar space as well. Even though ServiceNow does not want to talk that they are more of the low-code, no-code platform, but they have done a lot of workflow collaboration automation as well. Here Appian was doing a lot of document-centric play, but I didn't know if they were a real database company or data fabric company. That's why they would partner with Snowflake. So there are a lot of different layers. I'm not entirely sure where this is going, but I can see some synergies why they would go after Snowflake, because Snowflake obviously is very powerful, and pretty much every vendor, whether you are going to be just the low code, no code, ERP, RPA, everybody is aligning with them. They have a lot of market share. No questions there. Yeah.
What do you think, Ken?
So I'll take and work off of Sam's last point. I think that wanting to actually leverage Snowflake relationships actually makes a lot of sense. from the rest of the release, I'm not sure that I really get at the essence of why I should care. Because, when I see a lot of the content, it looks kind of like, well, this is more or less kind of like table stakes capability, as opposed to getting at, this is really unique and something I should be paying attention to right now. And the fact that we're working with Snowflake just is like the cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, I think it's I guess time will tell. I mean, Appian I think it's a plus for them, but I guess we'll have to see how it works out. They have a lot of these government and financial services as their base customers. So we'll have to see how they bring this, maybe even outside of that a little bit. Do we want to cover one more, Sam?
Yeah, I think we can do one more.
Yeah. So introducing IBM Bob. It's a development partner that takes enterprises. So AI development partner. So IBM, obviously, we know who they are, a pretty large company. This announcement comes from the software division, though, that represents a strategy on and betting on AI-first software development. So I'm trying to, what does it say what Bob stands for on there?
I think it does. There was something, and I don't know if it is Bob Shell. There was a comment there as far as my recollection goes. What was that? I don't remember. But I mean, I would prefer it to be Rob, and I don't know, Robert, if anybody called you, Robert, but I mean, I would go for IBM Rob.
Yeah, so it says Bob was launched inside IBM a year ago, June, with 100 developers. It's now used by more than 80,000 IBM employees worldwide. And anyway, so this announcement is about the global availability of it. So it was released inside IBM. Now it's launched. It's the first AI development partner built to work across full software development life cycles, from planning to coding to testing, deployment, modernization, with governance and security. I'm not going to say real time to you guys, but this includes a multi-model orchestration and a lot of other things, and it draws across multiple LLMs, and it sounds like it's a positive step. This is the direction things are going, and this is probably a pretty significant announcement. I'm downplaying it a little bit here because of time, but what do you guys think?
So, Ken, I don't know if you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start off. Okay. So the unfortunate association I made with this was the movie What About Bob? And I now can't actually get that out of my head, and it's just like it's kind of ruining it for me. But the thing that I will say about this particular release, and the fact that this is sourced in software development, I think that over the course of the years, IBM has really come out with a lot of very innovative things in true thought leadership form. They were, back in the 00 days, they were very much on the leading edge of defining methods and new tools. And I think that this is part of their legacy. And when they bring out something like this, that's going to make me sit up and pay attention. So I'm very anxious to see what they're working on, because I think it could be big.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Could not agree more. And regardless of whether you want to call this Bob or Rob, I really like the name, to be completely honest, because it's easy, and it does give you an impression that what this is going to be a person when you are talking to an AI agent. A lot of people are taking that as strategy, and the pricing is going to be aligned with that as well. If you look at IBM's market share, they were always very heavy in the custom development space, and some of the things that they are talking about in this particular space. Or in this particular article, there are very specific nuances. For example, you talk about Java upgrade in just 3 days, from 30 days. That's a very commodity task that you can easily handle using AI. So that's a good job there. And for the most part, I mean, IBM, the only way I guess they have retained their market share in the custom development space, because that could be very competitive. You are competing with a lot of offshore players. So how do you compete, right? So you have to introduce something like this, because that's how they create barriers. So in this particular case, I mean, any of the, if you look at the traditional, and I'm pretty sure Ken probably has used some of the legacy IBM, and I don't know if they call them legacy now. But we are talking about the real RAD tools, I believe, right? RAD, IBM RAD, right? And this is going to be very similar. I mean, this is AI native development, which is wonderful. I love it. Super bullish on this story, I would say.
Great. Well, Ken, anything you want to add to this, or you're good?
No, I'm good with this.
Okay. Well, I think we could wrap it up. Anything that we want to talk about, guys? Any shows as we round out the spring prior to summer festival season of events? Anything going on with you, Ken? Anything positive on the weekend? Any new opportunities that you want to bring up, or anything going? Didn't you have like a book that you were working on too, or no?
I've got a number of things that I'm pushing forward all at the same time. So, but more on that to come in the very near future. Okay.
Anything you want to leave us with? Any good thoughts of summer fever? Because we're out of spring.
Summer fever. Yes, I'm actually looking forward to scheduling some time off over the course of the summer and either going camping or getting out and doing something other than, getting my hustle on.
Well, we're all, I think it's nice that we have nice peers here and good customers, and, we all work hard and have each other's back. And the industry does need us, though, because I believe our experience and know-how brings a lot of depth and vision to help companies have an unbiased view, because you get in these areas where you're tunnel vision and you only think this is the right way. But if you kind of step off that a little bit, I believe that you'll see the vendors or even the customers, Sam, that you're helping out, they need to understand the big picture. The big picture is what it's about, and not to micromanage it, and to look at where you want to be in the years to come and come back to it today, because I do think the value that we all bring is significant. And customers or vendors should want to listen to that, because they're the people. It's like going to a doctor's office. Everybody puts their pants on the same way. So why not challenge them or help them, because they might not have all the information, or they might need it reclarified. But anyway, I'll be at Snowflake next week. Looking forward to that. And then it'll probably be a little bit more of a quieter summer, but developing my company a little bit more during that time frame, doing our great podcast here, and always learning.
Yeah. So guys, in my case, this is going to be my son's first experience when he is going to see a plant come out of the seeds. He has been watering a lot in his garden, and he's hoping to see that. Hopefully we see that before his birthday, which is going to be on June 15th. So we are very excited to see that. Nice. Let's see how he's going to react. I mean, we are very excited to take the picture as well, once that comes out. But you know what? Thank you so much for doing this, Robert. I know you have a hard stop. So I'll wrap. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. This was Analyst Gone Wild. We meet every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, gentlemen.
See you, folks.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.